So this image, claiming to be from the mummy of Ramses II and demonstrating him to be Caucasian, has caused an uproar all over social media because, of course, people are saying that the Egyptians were black. Other people are trying to say that they were connected to Mediterranean people. Some even go as far as to talk about the Greeks with Cleopatra, not realizing that Rameses was around during the 1200 BC time frame, and the Greeks didn't conquer Egypt until around the 1st and 2nd century BCE. So we got a good 1,000 years difference. Now, were there trading amongst people throughout the Mediterranean? Sure. But would the people of Egypt have been like this, been white, been Caucasian? It is almost assuredly a hell no. Plus, this is a hoax. This mummy, which does look very similar to the mummy of Pharaoh Ramses II, is a known hoax. And guess what? You can go and buy it because that's where it came from. It comes from this company called Props and Figurines. They made what they call a mummy that is as close to what the mummy of King Ramses actually looks like, because we do have pictures of the mummy of King Ramses which are close to this, but no cigar. You see, this is the actual picture of Rameses II when his mummy had to be shipped to France because there was some type of moss that was growing on it, and in order to save the mummy, they shipped it to France to have some work done on it. But one interesting thing, when they shipped it to France, yes, they found that there was cocaine in the system, and of course that sparked the whole thing about how did cocaine get there, since it's indigenous to America, and many people, oh, Egypt was really America, and so on and so forth, because they want to ignore the fact that the Egyptians, ancient Egyptians boats could actually make it to the Americas. So there's the possibility of trade, and West Africans had the possibility of trade, and that West African trade could have came to Egypt, or the Egyptians could have went there themselves. And there's also the stories with the Australians, the true Australians, that they were visited by the Egyptians. So it sparked all that controversy. So any other additional test done on the body was summarily a hell no. But that is the actual mummy of Ramses. And on the side profile, he does have these types of features that some people say are only Europeans. I mean, he doesn't have a big nose, but he has small lips. And I've often been picked on as growing up as a kid for having small lips for a black man. If I shave this off, this upper lip, that thing just disappear. I actually trim it a little higher, you know, when I'm trimming it. But mainly that's to keep the hair out my mouth. So many people have looked at it and said that, but you can tell even with the mummy that there is a certain level of melanin that he had in his skin, if anything, because understand cultural differences. The wealthy didn't work out in the sun. That was what poor people did. In the same way, we can see that today. The higher paid jobs are usually done by people inside of a building. The lower paid jobs are usually done by people who are outside. So that mentality of the higher income or the higher caste being inside and the lower caste or the lower income being outside hasn't changed that much in thousands and thousands and thousands of years. So is it possible that over time, these Egyptians could have been a little bit lighter than the average Egyptian who's out there working in the fields, because most people were agrarian? So the most likely look, AI generated look of Ramses would have been more like this guy, to which I know quite a few black men in Atlanta who look like that guy. I know quite a few of them. But to give you even more information about this entire region, you have to understand that prior to the Rameses II becoming the pharaoh over Egypt, it wasn't as if Egypt was always in the same situation. You had the Hyksos that came in and invaded, and the Egyptians were a little bit further south, and then the Kushite Sudanese people were south of that. But when you go back even further, it was those original Kushite Sudanese people that came up and conquered all of Egypt and became the Egyptians' kings. And then later on, once they started utilizing the title Pharaoh after Akhenaten, that those would have been, the lineage would have come from Africa and some from the Levant, where the Hyksos came from. Now, before anybody lose their shit about that part, Rameses was not a Hebrew king. That was another comment that I saw too many times. Because these people want to proliferate the idea that Noah's kids, Ham, had Mizraim, and Mizraim becomes the progenitor of all Egyptians, when archaeology demonstrates completely that no, that's not where these people came from. The fact of the matter is, the Egyptians existed long before a Noah story ever could have happened. The Noah story supposedly happened in and around 2200, 2400 BCE. During that time frame, the Egyptian civilization had already been around for 2,000 to 3,000 years. There's king's list, there's architecture, there's archaeology that demonstrates that they had been there, that there was no interruption, and they continued through their lines. Granted, you have the change of from the Cushites in coming up and taking over in around like 4,000 or 5,000 BCE, but there is zero Hebrew in the royalty of the Egyptian people. The Egyptian people did not come from Hebrew people. The whole Noah story is a facade, is a lie. It's something that they told to give themselves history, because they had no history when they separated from their other Canaanite brothers in and around 1300 BCE. So just because the Bible says it doesn't make it true, especially when archaeology shows that it's a complete lie. So y'all have a great day. And remember always, you have to free yourself to be yourself, because your greatness is non-negotiable. Good journey, good vibration.